Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what these alternative hypotheses mean, and let's add a picture to this because I think that's going to help a little bit with this understanding of what's going on. So one of the things you're going to do in a hypothesis test is you're going to check some assumptions and conditions, just like you did when you did a confidence interval. And one of those is going to be, is your original population normally distributed, or do you have a large enough sample size? Meaning, is your sample size 30 or greater? And we do that so that we can use the central limit theorem, which then allows us to look at use the properties that come along with a normal probability distribution. Okay, so I have a normal probability distribution here. And the way this works with the hypothesis test is that we always center our distribution at our null hypothesis, so at H0 or H0. So if we think about the example with the light bulbs, I would be centering this at mu equals 700. Okay, so always centered at our null hypothesis. If our alternative hypothesis is that mu is less than 700, what we would be looking at is this area that's over here on this end of the curve. Okay? So we'd be looking at some sort of probability attached to some area over on the left-hand side. So we call this a left tail test. Okay? This is a less than. If we were interested in greater than, which would be awesome if the light bulbs lasted greater than, although I doubt that's probably the case. Our alternative hypothesis would look like mu is greater than 700. So we would be looking at this area that's over here to the right, because this is greater than 700. And we would call this a right tail test. So this is our greater than. And both of these are considered one tail test. So you're either looking at the one tail on the left or the one tail on the right. Okay, and then that leaves us with just one other alternative hypothesis. Okay, so again, we're still always centered at the null hypothesis. In this case, our null is mu equals 700 for the light bulbs. And our other alternative hypothesis is that mu is not equal to 700. So this is that liar, liar, pants on fire version. So I don't know if it's less than or more than. I just know that I don't believe that it's 700. Okay. So this is a two-tail test. This is the only type of two-tail test. Okay. And this is often, some people will say not equal to, but a lot of times you'll see this referred to as different than. Okay. So sometimes that'll be the wording that you'll see show up in a problem. And what we're looking at here is some sort of area on both sides of the curve. All right, so hopefully that gives you a little bit more of a picture to go along with those alternative hypotheses. And when we come back in the next video, we're actually going to talk a little bit about the probability associated with these parts that I have shaded in here, and kind of what's going on with that and how we decide whether we think that we have enough evidence against the null or we don't have enough evidence. And what does that actually mean?